Hello everyone, welcome back to Manga's opening, and hello if you're joining me today. This video is a bit different because we're going to talk about a subculture that's prevalent in Japan and also appears in anime and light novels and games and manga. Okay, so we're going to talk about Gyaru, or Gal, subculture. Now we've got 3 origin stories for Gyaru, and I'm going to present them all today. And this is going to be the start of a series. Hopefully I will be able to find someone to interview about the subculture, but if not, I will just try and use reputable links, and if people have more sources for me, that's great, please point me to them. So what we're going to do is going to look at the 3 origins. Number 1. Gyaru is a Japanese transliteration of the English slang word gal. It is a Japanese fashion subculture and is also rumoured to be started by Baywatch, that also appeared on Japanese TV. The fashion style was probably created and popularised by Pamela Anderson. Now, I want to stop there because this origin story is nothing like the one I've heard before, simply because I've heard that it predates this event. It goes on to say that it is rumoured that Gyaru was an exaggeration and over-representation of Americanization, representing teenage party culture in Japan. Again, I'm going to stop it there because, again, this is not what I've heard. This is a different origin story than the one that is usually presented. Now, this is from the Wikipedia page, and as we know, Baywatch really debuted in roughly about 1989 to 1999. So that's many years later than from what I've heard. Whether Pamela Anderson and her looks and her fashion style inspired Gyaru to be more popular during that period is a different thing than saying that it started the Gyaru subculture. The first origin that I've heard of it was from a Levi advert saying Levi's are for gals, and that's where I've heard it comes from. Now, they've not presented in the Wikipedia that article for some reason, I don't know why. However, it did used to say that. It now puts the creation firmly on Pamela Anderson, which feels slightly wrong because it predates that by a significant period of time. It says Gyaru is a description of either sex, but I've also heard that men who embrace a Gyaru type subculture is named slightly different. I'm not 100% on the name, but there we go. I've heard that it's different because Gyaru is a portmanteau or literalization of okay. So the third origin story is that it was created by another jeans brand called Girls, spelled G-U-R-L-S, in the 1970s. Now this is closer to the origin story involving Levi's with an advert. Now, I've not ever been able to find that advert, and if someone has a video of that advert or something, or paper production or something like that, please send it to me because it would really help my research into this. This jean advert said, "I can't live without men." Again, this is not the original origin story that I've heard. It's completely new, and I don't know what date this was added on. Now, I've seen people say that this, because there are many subtypes of Gyaru culture. There's Manga, there's Kogal, there's Oni-Gyaru, there's Goth-Gyaru, there's Lolita-Gyaru, there's many types, and we can look at those if people are interested. Why I'm interested is because they tend to be really cool characters in manga. For example, Gal Gohan, for example, JK Kahuna-san, for example, Anju, for example, even Nagatoro can be described as a Gyaru in some descriptions. So this 1970s brand of jeans called Girls was adopted by people in their teens and early 20s. Its usage peaked in the early 2000s. Again, I've not heard this. I've heard that it peaked roughly in the 1980s to late 1980s to late 1990s. This is again something that has been changed. I don't know whether people have a different opinion of it or a different interpretation of it, but the two resources, which I will link in the description here, now have changed the original origin story of what I've heard. Gyaru subculture is still pretty big. Then, while they say it peaked in a period of time, which might have been, according to different resources, you get 80s, 90s, early 2000s. Saying that, there is a still significant amount of Gyaru subculture. There's a very famous store called Mars, or M-A*RS. This is also quite famous in Shibuya, which is a pretty big shopping district in Japan, in Tokyo. Now, also, I want to add that there is a section here which there are people who associate it with the word hussy or childish. Now, I've not heard that before. I've heard that it's a sort of rebellion-esque type of thing, a sort of bucking the trend of traditional fashion sense and, embracing blonde hair, outlandish colours, strange accessories. Sometimes the Mamba makeup, sometimes it's like heart makeup, sometimes it's all different things, and it can be just an expression of one's inner self. While it does say in the original Wikipedia, well, the Wikipedia article we have now, if you look up the word Gyaru, it kind of puts on a rather, it puts them down. It makes them seem like this childish, rude, almost like, I don't want to use the word that it insinuates, basically, but it insinuates them being rather loose or rather, airheaded or even in some respects spiteful to people, but I've never really heard that before. Now, there are certain brands of Gyaru fashion that we can of course look at, which would be interesting. I think it would be interesting personally, and I might do it whether it gets a lot of traction or not, because I'm, this is one of the cultures that appears a lot in manga and anime and light novels and video games and various other medias, that I would like to understand what makes it so present, what makes it so present in them, what makes it so appealing to people. The articles that I have are unfortunately in English. I would love it if someone would send me a Japanese article about it, really, or like a webpage or something like that I can muddle my way through and explore the culture without an obvious lens that seems to put them down and rather insult. I'm going to say it's rather insulting. It really is. So that's it. That's the three origins. The Gyaru, Levi's is for girls, the I Can't Live Without Men campaign, and the Baywatch thingy. Whether I would like to find out which is the real one. Now, I was told by a couple of Japanese people on some forums that it was the Levi's one. I was told that it started around the 1970s about this Levi thingy, but the other two sources that I have, Wikipedia and the Gyaru Wikipedia, which is sort of like a fandom Wikipedia, seem to put it in much different light, which I don't think is true considering where I've heard it from. Now, whichever one is the truth, I would like people to point it to me, and that would be great. So there we are. We just looked at one of the subcultures. What I've done is put some images that can be found. For example, some of these are from Wikipedia, some of these are from the Gyaru Wikipedia, and some of them I've just used pictures of Gal Gohan or Anju, representing the ones you can find in manga and anime. I hope Anju gets an anime, to be honest, but there we go. thank you everyone for watching. This is a bit of a change in my normal videos, but I want to explore more of Japanese culture and why certain parts of it appear in manga and anime and light novels. So there we go. Thank you everyone for your time. Do take care of yourselves, and bye bye.